Everyone is speaking out about this as it is getting ridiculous here in Phoenix, as we have seen some wild reports regarding this Suns team in trades. As we've seen a mix of Yusuf Nurkic being talked in reports, and now we are hearing reports that Yusuf Nurkic is not actively being shopped. So, what does this mean for this Suns team, and how is this hindering the Suns roster as they look to make roster improvements for the future of 2025 and to better this season? We'll be diving into all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Velez, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support on the channel, and we are very, very appreciative. If you guys want to make sure you get up to date on everything revolving around the Suns daily news, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Before we dive into all that Yusuf Nurkic news and all the trade stuff, I do want to look at the Suns in a little bit of a better light, as they were given some solid news today if we want to dive in and look at this, as the first fan returns for the NBA All-Star voting had come back, and we see two Phoenix Suns represented here, one in the front court with Kevin Durant receiving the second most votes, and obviously in the guard position with Devin Booker ranking ninth amongst guards. Now Durant and Booker have both dealt with injuries throughout this season, and Durant has put in his case clearly proven to be an all-star forward, as he has been the Suns' premier player this season when healthy and when not healthy. Obviously, that big X factor that they are missing. Booker has had a little bit of a weird season this year, has played a little bit down, has played solid with Durant. I do think in the next couple weeks leading up, if he were to keep up some solid play alongside Durant, he could boost his stock and get himself in some contention for the All-Star break. But at this moment, I would say that Devin Booker is one of those players that is most likely going to fall out of that All-Star game due to the fact that in the Western Conference, it is already so stacked with talent. And in that guard pool, there are so many guards that have had better seasons than Devin Booker has had this season. But I truly do believe that if Booker in these next couple weeks does have some solid games, that he could get himself into that conversation alongside Durant. But it does look like Durant will be one of those main focal points if he remains healthy into the All-Star break, which is huge for the Suns. So let me know what you guys think about that. But let's dive into the topics at hand for the video. First, like I mentioned, this is absolutely ridiculous, and we need to talk about it with the Phoenix Suns. Everybody over on social media, from what I've seen, has been speaking out about this today. As we want to dive in and look at this, we can see from Gerald Bourguet that according to a source, the Suns are not actively shopping Yusuf Nurkic. Doesn't mean that they wouldn't trade him, but the trade market is only starting to get rolling as you expect, and he doesn't have a ton of trade value right now. He might have more summer as an expiring, and this is a huge roadblock for the Phoenix Suns this season. As we all know, Yusuf Nurkic has been one of those major talking points for the Phoenix Suns dating back to this offseason when he was brought up in trade talks revolving around the Suns' first round pick this year, which they used ultimately to trade back to secure Ryan Dunn. But he was a name that was brought up alongside some others that the Suns could look to explore to make moves. And unfortunately for the Suns, they were unable to do a trade back then. And that was probably due to the fact that Nurkic still had 2 years remaining on his deal, and nobody knew what type of player Nurkic was going to be. And this season for the Suns, we have unfortunately seen what Yusuf Nurkic can present, and it is not great. He's been injured, dealing with a multitude of injuries so far for the Suns. When he is out on the court, though, for the Suns, when he's not having a left finger injury or a hamstring injury or an ankle injury, his numbers are worse with this Phoenix Suns team, as he has played in 300 less minutes with this Suns roster, but is producing worse lineup percentages in offensive rating, defensive rating, and net rating with this Suns roster when he is on the court. So overall, he is a net negative for this team, and as contractually as well, he is viewed as a net negative. We want to look at Yusuf Nurkic's contract for the remaining seasons. We already know it was signed to a 4-year deal, but this year making $18 million, next year making $19 million is a lot for a team to want to take on. Specifically, a player who has not been healthy, has not been there this entire season, and when he is there, is not putting up solid numbers. Like I said, we want to look at his stats so far in the season: 8.8 points, 9.5 rebounds. He has been effective for being a solid rebounder, but 2.3 turnovers, 3 fouls per game, shooting 30% from 3-point range, 45% from the field is not quality from what you want as a starting center, and not even to mention for his interior presence defensively, as he cannot provide that for a championship caliber team. At this point, Yusuf Nurkic is a backup center in the NBA on some maybe solid team or a team that has a young starting center. And it's going to be difficult to find a roster that is willing to take on Yusuf Nurkic's contract, take on that extra year next year, specifically with the Suns, as they are limited in draft capital. We all know that the Suns have that 2031 first round pick, but they're going to want to use that to attach to Yusuf Nurkic to just get off some dead weight. Most likely not. They're not going to want to use that. That is their only pick that they have. They're going to want to use that for a superstar acquisition, possibly to get a guy like Jimmy Butler, possibly to go out and get any other superstar's name that comes up in the next couple of seasons. Therefore, the Suns I see prioritizing and holding on to that pick and wanting to do some seconds or some other capital to move off Nurkic. And unfortunately, no other team is willing to bite on that deal. And I don't blame the other teams across the NBA for not wanting to bite on Yusuf Nurkic. Like I mentioned, not only the fact does he have all these repercussions, but he also cannot control his anger, as we already saw in his most recent game where he played. He suffered a 3-game suspension with this Suns team after getting in a fight versus the Dallas Mavericks. So not only can he not hold his own on the court, he talks back to the fans on over in the media, saying the real fans in Phoenix actually appreciate him, yada yada yada. He passes up wide open layups to kick out to Kevin Durant at 3-point range, which if Kevin Durant missed that 3-pointer, fans would have been in complete outrage with Yusuf Nurkic just a couple of weeks ago. There have been multiple instances on where fans have critiqued Yusuf Nurkic, not just on the court for his play, but off the court and how he represents himself and how he handles himself with the fan base, but also added on to that fact the fact that he can't consistently stay healthy. He was said that he was supposed to be in his best year this year, supposed to be in his best feeling, and ultimately he hasn't been able to produce that at all for this Phoenix Suns team. And that's what's hindered them this season. Like we mentioned, them not having that true starting center. Mason Plumlee has done a solid job trying to step up, trying to be that representative of a starting center as that defensive integral piece. But he was brought on to be a backup center, possibly even third string center, to help mentor Oso Ighodaro. And Oso Ighodaro has also been a solid rookie this year as a second round pick, has shown some nice glimpses as a rim protector, as a scorer in the paint, but ultimately doesn't present all those qualities that you necessarily would need or expect him to bring as a rookie being drafted with a 40 overall pick to be a starting center on a championship caliber team at this very moment. I do believe Oso presents those qualities to be a solitude backup center next year and work up to that potential to being a starting big. So I ultimately don't necessarily know if the Suns need to go out there and get a guy that is going to be a massive implication at that center position, as they do have a nice young guy in Oso Ighodaro. I think they just need a filler center to kind of take the place of Yusuf Nurkic, similar to what they wanted to do with DeAndre Ayton. But ultimately, Yusuf Nurkic just hasn't worked out with this team and has to be moved off of for the benefactors of the Suns organization for them to progress. But like Gerald was saying, it's going to be difficult for a team like the Suns to move off of him. They obviously want to move off of him in recent breakdowns, as we've said from Dwayne Rankin, from the Arizona Republic, where he said that they obviously are trying to get rid of Nurkic, but Gerald has obviously been saying from PHNX that obviously it is tough to get a deal done with Nurkic because nobody wants that contract. So will the Suns be able to ultimately move off of Nurkic? Will they be able to find a team to take his contract? I ultimately do think that will find its course throughout this trade deadline. There are going to be teams that are going to be making more moves, getting more cap space, and I do believe one team will have enough money to absorb Yusuf Nurkic's contract. And if the Suns are aggressive in pursuing an upgrade at the center position, or any upgrades for this team at that matter what they desperately need, sitting at under 500 at 15-17 at this very moment, I do believe the Suns will go out there and aggressively pursue it. But will any team bite? Will anybody take Yusuf Nurkic, or will the Suns have to use an extra piece like a Grayson Allen or Josh Okogie to move off of to get a replacement center and still have to hold on to Nurkic? That is also a question that remains as well. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, what you guys ultimately think all about this, because everybody's speaking out about it, and I want to know your thoughts and opinions. Like I said, I am on the trade Yusuf Nurkic wave. He needs to get out of Phoenix if we want to see the Suns have any success in that center department. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, how you guys ultimately feel. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everyone.